Hello everyone and welcome back to Triple Flutz. It is finally time for our long-awaited Q&A. Yes, this is indeed my voice. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I'm so excited to get into these questions with you guys. First of all, just a quick shout out. Thank you so much to everyone who submitted a question. I'm so flattered. You guys are so sweet. The way this is going to work is I have listed out the Q&A questions that I'm going to be going through. Try to get through every single one of them, so thank you so much for those who submitted a specific question. Super exciting announcement at the very end, so stay tuned and listen for everything. So let's just get into it. First of our questions is, are you a skater yourself or just a fan? So I'm actually just a fan of skating, in case any of you are interested. I actually got into skating really recently. It was at the Pyeongchang Olympics, and so I was actually the skate that probably got me invested and interested in figure skating was Evgenia Medvedeva's Nocturne. I think this is actually similar to a lot of people. I thought that, of course, I was a complete skating noob, I knew absolutely nothing about technique or PCS or anything like that. I just thought it was super cool and that dress was super bomb. So that is actually why that dress and from that specific program is my little thumbnail video, what's it called? My icon picture. Hang on, I gotta call. So yeah, that's why that picture is actually in, if you look up my channel, that's the little picture that'll come up next to my name, is because I think that's the first program that really got me into skating, really interested in it. Some people were wondering that a while ago. They thought I was biased because I had Evgenia Medvedeva and Rika Kahira on my stuff, but I chose Evgenia specifically to represent what most people will see of my channel, my little icon next to my name, because that's the program that really got me into skating. So it's a little Triple Flutz lore for you guys. Alright, question 2, when and how did you know about figure skating? So after the Olympics, I watched it during the Olympics and I thought it was fun, I didn't really know anything about it. And then afterwards, during the summer, I kind of fell down a YouTube rabbit hole a little bit of watching a ton of skating competitions. So if you want to know something that's kind of funny, at one point I got so bored of the kind of like classical soundtracky programs that I would skip to the beginning of every single video or every single individual performance. This is before the figure skating YouTube apocalypse when everything was still uploaded, and a lot of these channels would have the start of everyone's programs and the timestamps, so I'd go, and if it was like classical or soundtracky, I would skip immediately to the next one because I really wanted a quote-unquote fun program to watch. So it was not any like academic real research or engagement, but I think I really started to understand figure skating when I started to watch YouTube analysis videos and start to understand programs better, start to understand PCS and GUE better, and it really became something I just kind of was fascinated with. Awesome. Let's see. Question 3. Who is your favorite skater, no matter if they're retired now? Oh, that's a good question. I think I might go by discipline. If you can't tell from my channel, or kind of the focus of my channel, I think my favorite discipline is ladies, and that is because, at least before this upcoming season, which will be 2019-2020, one of the things that I think is really interesting about ladies skating is that it seems like everyone on the whole basically has the same technical acumen to grapple with, and they can use that, and they're all kind of on what we might call a level playing field. And I think this is very different from, for instance, men's, because men's is so almost heavily divided depending on how good your technical skills are. So for men, quads are an absolute must. Take, for instance, Jason Brown. As much as the ISU wants to pretend that this new system really prioritizes quality elements, and that was kind of evidenced perhaps in Jason's Worlds short program, for instance, you can really tell that it's just kind of become a way to inflate scores. It's not really reflecting the difficulty or the skill and presentation of the elements. So, but for ladies, it's a little bit different. At least before this upcoming season, no ladies really had quads, very few ladies had triple axles. So all of the ladies have these same elements that they're really grappling with, so it's a measure of whose creativity and whose talent is really going to push them to the top, and that's something I find really interesting. So for men's, you can kind of predict, these people are likely going to be in the top 5 because they're the ones that have the quads, they're the ones that can actually do the elements. But for ladies, it's a little bit different. So sorry, that was a super long, rambly way to tell you that that's why ladies is my favorite, or was my favorite. I just think it's really interesting. But that was not the question. The original is, what is your favorite skater? So I think I'll probably go by discipline. I might say a few. I think for men's skaters, some of my favorite men's skaters are Kevin Amos, Kurt Browning, and Keegan Messing. I love Kevin. Oh my gosh, I actually seriously considered making a Twitter fan page for Kevin because Kevin Amos deserves more love and respect and support in this good world. I absolutely adore Kevin's programs. They're so creative and they're so well interpreted and performed. He's just a phenomenal, phenomenal guy, and I wish him all the best for this next season. It's going to be so hard to follow up his incredible programs. Kurt Browning, one of the things that I love about skating is like footwork and step sequences. Nothing can blow me away like a good step sequence, and Kurt Browning's feet are like lightning. I love the kind of 6.0 step sequences. I think those are so, so fascinating. He's fantastic and just really a great figure in skating on the whole, very accepting, and just he's an awesome dude, and I love, love, love his programs. So Singing in the Rain will always slap. Okay. And speaking of Singing in the Rain, Keegan Messing, kind of a random one for my number 3. If you can't tell, I kind of like, this is just for me personally, this is not, a technical analysis or anything like that, just what I personally like. Like I said previously, I think that I gravitate more towards quote-unquote fun programs. So I love a good classical program. If you can pull it off and make you cry, go right ahead. But this programs that I'll watch again and again are the ones that really pull me in. Maybe they're more contemporary, maybe they even have more of a jazz swing kind of theme. I love it. And Keegan Messing, it was right up my alley for that. He kind of has had an interesting season, but I really enjoy just the energy he brings to the ice and how he's just so him. That's the only way I can put it. A little cheesy at times, sometimes a little corny, but he knows what he likes, and you can tell that when he goes out on the ice and performs. So I really, really appreciate Keegan for that. Ladies skaters. Ooh, so hard. Oh gosh. I think obligatory Rika Kihira, because her technique just blows me away every single time. And it's not because I don't like ladies skaters. That's not true at all. I feel like there's so many talented ones. And I feel like I have more favorite men's skaters than I have favorite ladies. Like the men's ones come to mind really fast because there's so many lady skaters that I enjoy. I usually can enjoy a good Evgenia Medvedeva program. I like, especially in her programs this season, the way that she's had to fight this season has kind of made her present her programs in a different light. I saw someone describe Anastasia Terrakinova's skating as warrior skating once, and I thought that was a really interesting way to put it. Evgenia's programs have kind of reminded me a little bit of warrior skating. So I guess if we're speaking of Terrakinova, if we're talking about juniors, I have really enjoyed Aliona Kosternaya this season. I think her presentation is really great. Everyone loves Aliona. It's not really a hot take or new opinion, but I really do enjoy her programs. I think they're pretty awesome. There are more, I promise. I feel like I really like a lot of ladies on the whole. They are pretty great. So, speaking of juniors again, question number 4 is, who's your favorite Eteri junior? Valieva, Kanisheva, Usacheva, etc., etc. The first Eteri junior of the younger crop, the one that's not coming up to seniors this year, that really actually kind of floored me was Valieva, and it was because of her incredible flexibility. But one of the things that almost bothers me about that is when she jumps, she checks her free leg up like really, really high, and Kosternaya does this as well, and it's good, but it almost bothers me a little bit because it seems like they almost go too high. It's like a little too much. But Valieva, I remember, she's the one where I actually went back and watched her programs again. It's her Picasso one, the girl on the blue ball, I think it's called, which is not really a Picasso program, but it's fine. So Valieva, I really enjoy her, just watching her limbs are super long. That sounds like a very strange observation, but you'll understand if you'd watch the video. Just the way that she moves and that Danielle presented her through the choreography, I think was actually really strong, given that it was a Danielle program. He really played to her strengths and her ability. Technically, there's some questions here or there, but I really enjoyed Valieva. I also remember really enjoying Kanisheva on the Junior Grand Prix. I especially I think people dig on princessy programs a little bit too much. She can pull off that look really, really well. I remember very well the way that she was packaged. It still stands out in my mind to this day with the kind of blue, and she had the kind of beaded crown sort of thing in her hair, which is such a strange thing to remember, but I really do remember it. So I think she was packaged very well, and she's a lovely skater. So I think those two are probably my favorite Eteri juniors of now. I'm so excited to see how they'll fare on the Junior Grand Prix. up against the likes of Alyssa Liu, etc., a bunch of really talented juniors. So it will be a very, very, very interesting season next year. Have you guys ever felt privileged? You're like, man, I can't believe I'm actually going to be watching these ladies compete next year. That's crazy. It's such a privilege. Okay, question 5. Also talking about the Eteri juniors, how do you think next season will go with the Eteri juniors moving up? Do you think they'll be Alina and Jenya? I think that the Eteri juniors, I don't know if they will dominate per se, because I think that the judges are going to kind of mark them down because they're juniors. We saw this even at Russian Nationals. I think that the judges will probably try to keep their PCS on somewhat of the lower side, so they're not immediately jumping in. But if the juniors do really well, which I predict that they probably will, we might see a situation like the Kira, like Alina, like Evgenia. The YouTube channel Fran has a really great video about this. It's called something about junior to senior PCS inflation. And you can see how when moving from junior to senior, when they had a technical specialty almost, so Evgenia had her triple center consistency, Alina had the Let's Loop, Kihira has triple axel. They start off on somewhat of the lower side in PCS, but at the end of the season, they're really, really pulling strong PCS. Given that they were only in one season of seniors, is a little suspect. So if you're interested in something like that, I'd highly recommend you watch her video. I really enjoy her channel. So I think that these girls will probably start out on the lower side of PCS, but if they are really dominant and really strong, I can imagine those numbers moving up, especially for Alyona Kosternaya. So I'm intrigued to see how that will be. I predict the Eteri juniors. I actually filmed but have not yet posted a video where I predict every single podium for all the ladies events in the Grand Prix. So you guys should definitely check that out and participate in my predictions challenge. But I do have a lot of the girls predicted pretty highly on the whole, so I'm really intrigued to see how they'll do. I think Trusova will probably come out really strong. She has a very consistent quad toe loop. It's pretty solid. Her quad lutz is a little more questionable, but I think because she has that quad toe, it'll be interesting. However, I don't see a ton of flex room for her PCS, especially if she's doing What's Her Free Skate Game of Thrones, and I don't remember if they've announced her short program yet. At the moment, they have not announced her short program. So, Game of Thrones, it kind of fits in with her oeuvre, so to speak, this kind of conception that they built up with her, and I actually talked about this in my video. I almost feel bad for her a little bit because she's seen as this, incredible athlete and this really, really strong figure. I feel bad for her because sometimes I feel like they're not giving her enough room to really develop as an artist. So I don't see too much room for Trusova PCS-wise. Of course, knock on wood, we'll see what happens. I can see Alyona Kosternaya doing great things. I hope she does well. She's placed against Alina Zagitova, and I think that between the two of them, judges are probably going to choose to reward the Olympic and world champion over a new junior. However, that's really damaging to Kosternaya's incredible quality. She's a fantastic skater. I think that of all the three of them, I think she's the one that'll really be able to pull in some awesome PCS and her technical abilities. I have a couple of videos on her if you want to see. But on the whole, she's a very consistent skater and a very solid skater, so I enjoy her. Sherbakova is interesting. She's kind of like a fusion between the two. Does she have I don't remember ever seeing a quad toe from her, just the quad lutz, and even then the quad lutz was pretty shaky. I can't really imagine. I'm not sure. She's also very, very consistent, but I don't know if she's quite as artistic as Kosternaya, nor quad consistent as Trusova. I feel like she'll still fare really well because she is consistent in her triples, but her jumps have this kind of mule kick muscledness to them, so I don't know. I'm not Sherbakova's biggest fan of the three of them, for sure. Not that she has 3 fans of the 3 Eteri juniors. I don't know. We'll see. I can imagine, so to answer this question in brief, I can imagine that they'll do very well. I imagine at least 2 of them probably will make it to the Grand Prix final. Do I think they'll beat Alina and Zhenya? I think they will probably beat Evgenia, at least, because Evgenia's up against Trusova. I can imagine that Trusova would beat her just on tech alone. However, I think in PCS it probably won't be a very fair competition. I think that Evgenia, A, at least compared to Trusova, is a better interpreter and artist, and B, the judges are really, really behind her when it comes to PCS, so I think that that'll probably boost her and propel her. Do I think they'll beat Alina? Alina is up against Alyona Kosternaya, like I said. I feel like it just really depends on which of them is having a better day. I think that Aliona doesn't have the Let's Loop. Alina doesn't really either, if we're being honest. So I think it will really depend on who's having a better skating day. I feel like Alina might come on top. Honestly, I'd say it's like 70-30, 70% Alina, 30% Aliona. It just really depends who's trained the best. I think, so just recently there was an announcement that Aliona is doing her Twilight free skate and she's keeping her old short program. I don't really know if she's going to be raking in the PCS with a Twilight program because it seems a little campy, but we'll see what they do with the music, you know. Really hoping that Aliona deserves better, guys. Really hoping that she just comes out and has a great season. So I feel like Alina will probably beat them, at least beat Aliona. I feel like Trusiva will probably beat Evgenia. Okay, question 6. Do you watch other disciplines? If yes, who are your favorites? So I mostly just watch ladies and men's. I actually do watch a good bit of men's. Other men, I enjoy Boyang Jin. I think his programs are super, super fun, very expressive. You know, I enjoy the ones that everyone enjoys. I enjoy Yuzuru, I enjoy Nathan Chen. I don't watch too much pairs and dance. I watch a little bit of dance. I don't watch very much pairs at all. Number 7, what do you think? So when I was posting my Q&A stuff, it was right after the whole bad guy kind of kerfuffle. So the next few questions are kind of addressing that. So what do you think about the whole Daniil bad guy choreography scandal? Personally, and this is just my personal opinion, I think that it's pretty obvious that at least the beginning 20-ish seconds of choreography was pretty much ripped straight from the music video, which is really disappointing because as someone who engages with intellectual property and that sort of thing by manner of being a YouTube channel, I think that it really frustrates me on a personal level because I can imagine JoJo, especially as an artist and as a content creator, just to have something that she created on her own be stolen and broadcast on TV, and to have basically no legal support system that would be able to address that. I can imagine that just being incredibly, incredibly frustrating. Part of that I've somewhat personally experienced on the YouTube side of things on a much, much, much smaller scale, of course, but there's a whole bunch. There's this, if you guys are interested, there is this Russian media company that basically at the beginning of my channel like tried to completely shut me down, but that's the tea for some other time. But anyways, back to what we were originally talking about. I just can imagine how frustrating it is for JoJo, and I think it's very inappropriate for Daniil, representing the Olympic champion, representing the world champion, to not be able to throw together an exhibition program for a pop song that kind of has its concept a little bit already set out with Billie Eilish's kind of edgy teen vibe, for lack of a better word. I think that there was some material that he could have really engaged with on a creative level, but deliberately chose not to. And then by also subtly implicating Alina and the whole cover-up afterwards, at least he apologized, let's acknowledge that. But I think that it was just a really terrible situation and reflected poorly, not only on Daniil, but also on Alina, even though I believe that she probably had little to do with it in the grand scheme of things. So that's just upsetting. It seems like everyone is really keen on every time Alina is making a mistake or is kind of struggling in her skating. I think a lot of people kind of jump on the bandwagon to really go after her and attack her. Even though I think that, for the most part, she's just kind of going along with the ride and doing what her coaches tell her. She seems like a sweet girl, but I don't know if there's a lot of agency on her part when it comes to her exhibition programs and that sort of thing, so it's just really a frustrating situation. Reflects poorly on figure skating in general. Number 8 was kind of going along with that in a more lighthearted manner. It says, if you skated a program and were accused of having plagiarized another skater's choreography, who would that skater be and what is the program? In other words, what program do you love so much you wish you had skated it yourself, as well as the original skater? So I forgot to mention this in some of my favorite skaters previously, but I really enjoy Javier Fernandez's programs. I love his skating, and one of his absolute best programs, I think, is Javi's Guys and Dolls. I've probably watched that so many times. I love Guys and Dolls, and I love Javi's interpretation. Luck Be a Lady. Give me any Frank Sinatra. I adore Frank Sinatra. If you give me a Frank Sinatra program and it's absolute garbage, I will watch it and like be cheering for you and give you a flower crown at the end. Like, I am here for Frank Sinatra. But Javi's Guys and Dolls, especially the one at Worlds, it's just so fantastic when the jumps are going right and the audience is behind it, and just when he's throwing those dice and everything. I absolutely love that program. Probably one of my favorite programs. I am almost about to hit the 30-minute mark of recording. It'll probably be a little less after editing, But I really hope that you enjoyed. If you have any more questions for me, why don't you add them in the comments? Definitely, if you leave me comments, I will try to respond. So thank you so much for everyone who submitted a question. I really enjoyed getting to talk about these and getting to share a bit about what I like and the skaters I like and enjoy. If you guys have any of your skaters, if you agree or disagree with me, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinions and thoughts on this. If you have any ideas for upcoming videos, please let me know because I'd be glad to hear. I have some fun things in the works and I'm really, really excited to start cranking out some new content during the last part of this off season, starting up the new season. I can't wait to post my predictions. If you guys want to know a little bit about that video that's coming up, basically what I did is I kind of made a predictions game where I predicted the top 3 at every ladies event, and then if I'm correct, if they're on the podium in any position, I give myself a certain number of points. I don't exactly remember. And then if I get some of the order correctly, then I get a certain number of points as well. So if you guys like to join my predictions game, go check out that video, kind of figure out how things work. And we'll see which of us is the champion at the end of this Grand Prix final season that'll be coming up in the fall. It'll be so exciting, and I can't wait to hear you guys kind of listen to my crazy ramblings about predictions. So thank you so much for listening again. I had a great time recording this, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks for coming to check out Triple Flats. See you next time.